Hello, Booktube. It's Tuesday, and that means Tag Tuesday. And I was actually tagged this time around. I'm not horning my way on anyone else's business. And it's a good tag, too. It's kind of I want you all to do. Oh, my. I want you all to do this. It's the evolution of a Booktuber tag. Let's see here. It was created by Spread Bookjoy, and I was tagged by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. And it's very simple. It's just 3 questions on a prompt that talk about your experiences on Booktube. So this is for Booktube creators, as most tags are, and it more than that, it's not one of those tags where you get up and you hunt around for books on your shelves that will fit. Instead, it's you talking about your experiences, which is so fascinating to me. I'm happy to do it, and I hope you all do. So we're going to go through these 3 prompts, and we're going to see if ontology recapitulates phylogeny for this channel. The first prompt is extinction. Are there things you used to do on your channel that you don't do anymore? And the answer here for me for most people, I would imagine when they answer this question, the answer would take the form of mistakes that they've made. Things that they used to do on the channel that they don't do anymore because it's too time consuming or it felt wrong. And for me, by far the more popular answer for me, yeah, there are a whole bunch of things I don't do on my channel anymore that I used to do that at least 200 of you, no matter which one it is, wish I still did. There are a whole bunch of features on this channel that we don't do anymore. We don't do Psalm Sunday. We don't do Last Week in Booktube usually. I've let Bro Watch lapse very badly, where I brochette Dude Bros, and a whole bunch of other features. We were doing a book-by-book read-along of Frank Herbert's Dune. I never finished the last one. We were going through the Gospels. Never finished, never got to the Gospel of St. John, and on and on. You go back into the past with the presidential library or whatnot, you'll find a whole bunch of these things. The Western Canon Starter Kit, Part 2, sophomore year. This time, it's personal. All of those things are things I used to do on this channel that I don't do anymore. It's just a pile of unfulfilled promises, because I'm not categorically against any of those things. Your channel moves on, you're talking about other things, you're doing other things, and they just don't come up. They don't feel organic anymore. And for me, that's everything. So, but I should get back to all of those things. Just since I've raised your ire, I should get back to all of those things. But in terms of anything else that I used to do on my channel, I don't do anymore. Almost all the things that I'm thinking of are things that I mean to do. I haven't stopped them because they were a bad idea. Shelf tours, library tours, all that sort of stuff. I mean to get back to doing all of those things. But the one thing that I used to do on my channel a long, long time ago that I don't do anymore is speak softly. When I started this channel, I had 2 very old, very sick dogs. They were adorable. They were my girls, and they were with me for every video. My pointer on one side and my basset hound on the other. You could almost never see my basset hound because she wanted to be wedged against me directly underneath the camera. So every once in a while in those old videos, you will be easily able to see my old pointer, Malin, on one side of me. But every once in a while in one of those videos, something will start to surface. And that's my little hippo. That's my little basset hound, Lucy. And as they grew older, as they got weaker and frailer and then sick, I went into hospice mode. I became much gentler. I became much softer, just in general as a person. I was caretaking for them all the time. And then once they stopped being sick, and one by one, first Lucy and then Malin started dying, that's a different thing. That's even worse. I still made videos for most of it, but they were very different videos. They were quiet. And then all of a sudden my life was taken over by a tiny little terrier who is not quiet, is very, very energetic. So I'm that way now. I'm not in hospice mode anymore, but that's been a long time. Probably, there are very few people watching this channel now that were watching this channel then. Friends of mine who are professional YouTubers have said, that's nothing personal, don't worry about it, but that is going to happen. You're just going to lose people. They're just going to drift away, and you'll get new people. If you're still making good content, you'll get new people. but they won't remember any of your older stuff. Don't expect them to. So probably a lot of you don't remember that, but that is a change as well. Then the next prompt here is adaptation. What things have you done on your channel or as a result of being on BookTube that you never thought you would do? And for me, that's a long list. I originally balked at joining BookTube at all because I was assuming that the technology was beyond me. I watched BookTube for a long time before I even thought about joining it, and I only thought about joining it because two young people told me, no, this is easy to do. You can easily do this. There's an app that will help you to export your video. You don't need to know anything technical. You don't need to edit anything. One of their big realizations when they filmed me for the first time making a video was, oh, no, you're not going to need to edit, are you? You're not going to need to take multiple takes. And I haven't. I don't edit. I don't add in any kind of post effects. I don't lay audio tracks. I don't do anything like that. So the tech has turned out to be very simple. They turned out to be completely right. But I didn't know that at first. 9 years ago, the very idea that I'd be a sexy influencer was unthinkable. Just unthinkable. I wouldn't have not a chance in the world. And even when I started to think, well, maybe you could make a BookTube channel, I still thought it would be my friend Deb and it would be my friend Sam, and that would be it. For people to watch, I thought that would be it. That turned out, that illusion was quickly dispelled when those two young people announced on their own BookTube channels that I was thinking about doing it. I got a bunch of subscribers. Before I even had a channel, I had subscribers. So unlike a lot of BookTubers, I didn't have to worry about that. But all the other stuff that's followed, none of that technical stuff has. I am not proficient. Well, most people would answer this question by saying I started on iMovie, then I moved on to other more advanced editing software. I'm not proficient in any of those things. I don't know how to use them at all. But other technical stuff, yeah. I would never have thought that I could host a live stream, for instance. I love live streams. Would never have thought that that was possible. Would not have thought that I could master video conferencing so that I could do an interview with somebody or video talk with somebody. Now I do that, and it's easy. It's simple. And also, there are lots of little things that you learn when you make a lot of videos. I've made well over 100 videos. It's true. I've made well over 100 videos, and when you do that, you learn a few things, little corner nips and tucks here that you can fix, basic stuff about making videos that you're not really thinking about it, but they start to make their way in. I know when conditions are right. Some of the conditions I can't do anything about, the traffic, the noises that are now synonymous with this channel. Sometimes the neighborhood behaves itself, sometimes it doesn't. I wouldn't change it for anything. A quieter neighborhood would have fewer people in it and therefore fewer dogs. So I wouldn't change it for anything. It's a wonderful neighborhood. And if you ask anybody who's actually been here, which is now a sizable number of people, it's not World War III when you're here. It just happens when I'm filming. That's all. But a whole bunch of other things too. I learned basic parameters for making videos that I wish other people would learn. Don't leave the frame and just wander around like Brown's cows. Then maybe you're going to come back, maybe you're not. Don't engage in bodily functions on camera. I'm trusting that you are strong enough, that you are, that you're of Numenor stock and you can get through your 1 10-minute video in a week without slurping from a cup or a bottle. I watched a video yesterday. Wonderful pair of young booktubers, just wonderful and personable. They started off their video, chatted for a bit, and then one of them took out a giant bottle of water and started just gulping right there on camera. And the other person saw that and said, well, I'll gulp too. So the next 2 minutes were them gulping from bottles of liquid, me watching their Adam's apples go up and down. Then they put the bottles of liquid down. Then, of course, you've got, burp, before we get back to what we're talking about. Okay, thanks. My anti-slurping stance is well known. But the other things, too, the equivalent of a boom mic. You don't want the equivalent of a boom mic in your shot. Or do you know what you're going to say? Do you know what you're going to say? Or are you just going to wander on camera? Little things like that, little nips and tucks along the way are things that I would not have thought 9 years ago. I would not have thought that I would ever even think them. I'm sure that when I first started out, I thought I'm never going to pay attention to what makes a good video and what doesn't. I'm not going to care about any of it. But once you start doing it, you realize that in addition to my conception of BookTube, which is a series of conversations, a number of you, the other day I mentioned in a video that I don't save any of my videos, that I've deleted. They're up on YouTube, but I don't save the files at all. I haven't saved any of them in 8 years. And a number of you wrote and were horrified by that fact. But why would I? Why would I do that? They're just conversations. Most of them are just conversations between us. If they go away, I remember them. I remember how much fun they were. But in addition to that, my conception of BookTube, there's also a slight version of what I consider to be a bad, unhealthy conception of BookTube, which is a performance, a show. It's only a tiny element of that. There are plenty of BookTube channels where that's everything. That's all of it. But for me, it's only a tiny element, but it is there. It is there. There's a certain forward-facing aspect of this. Now, you can do a lot along that line without sacrificing your authenticity. You do a lot more along that line than I do. I'm perfectly willing to admit that. From the small example, like, for instance, Sarah at the Bookish Knitter, no one would doubt her authenticity, but she can put in pictures of books and add footage to her videos. Little things like that. And then all the way to much bigger things where the lighting, the camera angle, the equipment, everything is given a lot of forethought ahead of time in order to produce a very smooth, professional product. And you might think, from hearing me rail about it for 8 years, that I think if anyone's got to that level has sacrificed their authenticity. But no. There's Olive at A Book Olive. She's been professional from the beginning. Completely authentic. There's Ollie from Criminolly. Huge channel. Completely authentic. Would never say anything doesn't mean, but he has nevertheless pursued all the professional and bells and whistles that he can think of. Whereas I'm sure you don't need any help to think of BookTube channels that pursue all those professional bells and whistles specifically at the price of authenticity, if they ever had any authenticity to start with. So it is possible to do, I just don't do it. But even so, the little amounts that I do, the tiny insignificant amounts that I do, are weird to me. There are things that I would never have thought to myself. 10 years ago, I would never have thought that I would go into a thrift store, go to the book section. Now, that I would ordinarily do, but that I would look at the book section and think, what would be fun to talk about on camera? I would never have thought that I would say that. And I now routinely do. I'm not yet at the point where it sways my buying. I don't know how many of you are at that point. I've never bought a book that I didn't particularly want because I thought it would be fun to talk about it on BookTube. But who knows? Who knows what will happen in the next 8 years? Then we have the next prompt is evolution. How has BookTube changed you, and what do you aspire to for the future of your channel? This just gave me a lot of thought as to how BookTube has changed me. It feels ungenerous or crabby, maybe, for me to say that it has not changed me at all. That seems wrong. It's so important to me and has been a part of my daily life for almost a decade that it seems wrong, small, close-minded, to say that it hasn't changed me at all. But I'm hard-pressed to think of a way that it has. It hasn't changed my reading. It hasn't changed my personality. The success has not gone to my head. It hasn't changed my standards. It hasn't changed the books that I rave about. Not at all. Not at all. I am in this for the same reason as every other reader. To feel the small hairs stand up. That feeling of, oh my God, my whole world is this book. If we're being fair with each other, if we're not bookish cheerleaders who've lost the plot entirely, we know that feeling is rare. You do a lot of reading for very little of that. But that feeling, which I believe got us all into reading in the first place, is so incredible that it's worth it. It's worth the wait. I firmly believe that that's what people mean when they say they're having a reading slump. It's not that they're not finishing any books or that they're not able to or whatnot. It's that they haven't felt the short hair stand up in quite some time. Too long. In my experience in a retail bookstore, when customers would come in and say, I'm looking for a really good book, that's what they wanted. They wanted that feeling. I still look for that. And my standards for that are exactly the same as they were before BookTube. They haven't changed at all. I have not become more biddable. I have not become more bitter. So a book still has to do all the right things in the right order, in the right way, to cause that reaction with me, and most books don't. I would say that the way that BookTube has changed me, the main way that BookTube has changed me, is that it has revamped my idea of what the internet is or can be, especially social media. Before I was actively participating in BookTube, I had mostly negative views of social media as a horrible, vindictive, feces-throwing waste of time. A place where you're never going to find anything good. A place where the people that you're going to find are all going to be bad or indulging in the worst parts of themselves. And that is largely true of social media. That is largely true, which is why I and everybody else that I know who's not a Nazi smiled from ear to ear when the news came out this morning that Twitter, which no one calls X, no one is willing to do that just because Lex Luthor wants you to. No one calls it by this dumb new name. But the news started spreading this morning that Twitter has lost something like 82% of its value since Lex Luthor took over the site. It's lost 82% of its value. Because advertisers don't want to be part of a site where their products are going to show next to a Nazi posting about how all the Jews in the world should be eliminated. Which happens on a daily basis. I never saw those sorts of things. You had to go into the down to the bottom bowels of 8chan to see that kind of stuff. Now it's all over Twitter. And if you're Roto-Rooter or Ford Motor Company, you're not going to want your products on such a site. It hurts you. Just financially, it hurts you. And you are duty bound to generate profits for your shareholders. So you're going to pull your advertisements. Even if Lex Luthor tries to sue you for not giving him money. He is still complaining. He's complaining now. He can't stop that news from spreading. 82% of its value means that it's doomed. It means that it's going to go on the chopping block. And once that story starts, it's spreading already. I'm sure that it will reach peak volume today. He's already, though, blaming a advertiser boycott. Okay, if you make yourself toxic, if you make a formerly beloved site toxic, yeah, people are going to leave it in droves, including advertisers. Nothing you can do about that, sweetheart. Doesn't matter how much money you've lost, how much of the U.S. government's money you've lost. You can't make people give you money. But that image, the image of what Lex Luthor has made Twitter become, a haven for Nazis, a haven for the N-word. That was maybe not that bad. I don't think any of us saw that coming, that a bored billionaire would wake up one morning and decide he wanted to buy Twitter and rename it X because 5 of his kids are named X and his house is named X and he made his wife change her name to X because he's a stupid drug-addled 13-year-old. None of us were expecting that, but nevertheless, you know what I mean. Facebook was plenty bad enough on its own. MySpace got bad before everybody left it. That was my original idea of social media, was that it was just irredeemably toxic. With maybe a bright spot here or there, but nothing that was systematically good. A place you could go that was systematically good. And I thought, well, it's bookish people. As Jason Harrigan always says, book people are the best people, by and large. There are exceptions. I'd prefer it if you didn't mention them. I know there are exceptions. I don't need your pedantry, thank you. But I thought maybe this has a better chance of being largely positive, even though it's social media. And then I got hashtagged, attacked on the very place that I had decided to join, and thought, oh no, you were right all along. This is just a viper's nest. But that turned out not to be true. And in the years since, that feeling has doubled and tripled. That Booktube, this little corner of Booktube, is a genuinely special place. It lives up to its billing. It is a genuinely welcome community, even if all you're considering for welcoming is someone leaving a comment on a video of yours saying, this was really interesting. Or what do you think of this? That will happen. You will not get trolls. Usually you will not. They're so rare that we actually talk about them. They almost never crop up. Instead, you'll get engagement. Hey, this video on book X was fascinating. Have you heard about book Y? If you don't know about it, I think it would go well with book X. You might like it. And can I send you a copy? Or if we get to know each other and like each other, can we maybe meet up and I will hand you a copy? Or if we meet up and really like each other, well, how about I spend a day or two at your house? Or how about I add a little loop to my vacation to include meeting you? It's like I've said many, many times. I've said two things about our little corner Booktube many times. One, when we are all older, and this is no longer happening, and it's long gone, and we look back on it, we're going to remember when we were all stars. And we did this weird thing that wasn't just participating in a discussion on Facebook, where so many of us had channels of our own that had viewers that we've never met and wanted collaborations between these entertainment figures that we somehow ended up being, even though we never stopped being ordinary people, and even though they know we're ordinary people. This weird combination of genuine friendship and a parasocial relationship. Number one, we're all going to look back on when we did this as one of the most remarkable chapters of our lives. But number two, that I always say about Booktube is that it's real. It's absolutely real. It's not. I always say, my imaginary Booktube friends, well, I do that specifically to needle you, because I love needling you. These relationships are real. People reach through the screen, so to speak, in either direction all the time. You're feeling down in the dumps? Well, not only will you get dozens of comments on the video in which you say that, telling you jokes, wishing you well, but anyone with whom you've established private communication in Voxer or email or whatnot will right away write to you. Are you okay? Can I send you something? Here are some pictures of my cat. That happens all the time. It happens so often that I think it causes those of us who do Booktube a lot to forget that it doesn't happen anywhere else. It is absolutely weird. This thing that's happening that we have here is absolutely weird. And I would never have guessed that. So that's all of that are changes that I had no idea would ever happen. As to the future, well, there are things, I say this every year, but there are things that I would like to be able to do. I'd like to be able to do vlogs. Fairly simple thing. Those of you who've mastered basic editing will say, well, that was the first thing I learned. Yeah, I realize it's fairly basic. Where you film a little clip here, a little clip there, a little clip there, and then you take an hour, 2 hours to put them together into one video as a vlog. I can't do that. I've never even tried. I'm sure that it would be beyond me. And a number of you have pointed out over the years that, these videos are kind of vlogish. You've said many times that you consider your videos to be conversations. That's very much what they feel like, and they form a mosaic of their own. It's just you're making full videos for each of those little things instead of patching them all together. But I would still like to be able to do that. My dream would be for YouTube to take a tiny fraction of the gigantic amount of money that it makes off these channels, even if we don't monetize, even if we're not running ads. They're still making a huge amount of money off this little corner of Booktube. It'd be great if they could take a tiny sliver of that gigantic amount of money and create drag and drop easy technology to make this possible. That'd be really great. It'd be really easy to do. In YouTube Studio on the left-hand side, why isn't there an option? Add titles. Add captions. Why isn't that option there? It'd be the easiest thing in the world for YouTube's technologists to do. They don't do it. They have a financial interest in you buying outside services. Same thing with vlogging. That should be easy to do. Where I shoot 30 seconds here, a minute here, 30 seconds here, a minute there. I put them all in one file or a column or whatever it is. I don't know the technology myself. I put it all in one of those columns, and I have an option on the right-hand side, make a vlog. that is easily possible. YouTube could easily do that. They don't, and I keep waiting for them to. But that'd be something that I'd like to do in the future. But other than that, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Then we have the bonus prompt here to finish this out, which is impart your words of wisdom to fledgling booktubers out there. I have, since I'm bitterly old, I have lots of words of wisdom. But I can boil it down to various... I've made many, many videos about starting a BookTube channel. I can boil it down to essentials. The number one first essential is try it. That's the number one first thing. If you're out there and you're contemplating it, pay no attention at all to the dark side of BookTube. BookTube made me lose my hair. BookTube cost me my marriage. BookTube photographed me with the rent boy. All those videos, they crop up all the time. Pay no attention to them whatsoever. None of them are true. Instead, try it. No matter, I can speak from experience from what I was like 8 years ago. No matter where you are, no matter what you are, no matter what you do all day long, you have in your possession the technology you need to start already. You have a phone that has a camera. There you go. You don't even need a tripod. Just prop it up on books. I did for the longest time. That's all you need. So number one piece of advice to fledgling booktubers out there, or really fledgling people who are just considering it, would be try it. Stop thinking about it and try it. Make a video. And remember, no one is expecting a Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech. No one is expecting that at all. Just you telling me what you read lately and what you thought about it is fine. That is just fine. And then number two, the other piece of advice that I would give to fledgling booktubers is keep it up. If you're enjoying it, if you're getting response, the thing that's going to make you enjoy this is going to be finding an audience. And that takes time. It didn't in my case, but it does take time. That takes time to do. So you have to give it that much time. At least give it a month. At least a month, maybe 2 months. So not just try it, but keep trying it until you give it a chance to show you how wonderful it is. If you make a video and it gets 2 views and no one comments on it and it sinks like a stone and that's it, that's all, and you sit back and you wonder, why did I do that? I won't do that again. Then you're not giving BookTube a chance to do what it can do. Once you've found the community, and once the community has found you, once you have viewers, it will feel different. I bet you will like it. But you have to give it that. So make a few videos. Just make a few videos and resign yourself to just casting them down a well. The time will come. I guarantee you, the time will come when someone will find you and say, hey, this is exactly what I was looking for. This is great. That's going to feel wonderful. You're not going to think it. If you've never been doing this sort of thing, you've never been on a camera before, that's going to strike you as odd. But it feels wonderful. So those are my 2 pieces of wisdom. They're very basic. Try it and keep trying it until you give it a chance to show you what it can be. If you make 2 videos and they get no responses at all, and you say, yeah, nobody's out there listening, well, then how do you reconcile that with the fact that somebody can make a video and get hundreds of comments? You reconcile that by saying, oh, well, sure, but they have lots of subscribers. Well, they didn't start that way. So the risk to try it, and then the determination to keep trying it for a bit, for a while, a month, 2 months. If you're thinking about starting a BookTube channel, then get your ducks in a row. Think up a name for your channel, something ostentatiously clever, or you could just use your name. I know a lot of people who say, you don't do that. You don't want your name floating around in public there, but what are you going to say that's going to disgrace your name? I don't know. I never thought anything about what my channel would be called. And I've had a number of people over the years say, well, but you've had decades of having your name in print. so it isn't quite it doesn't freak you out as much as it would someone who has never had that. Okay, fine. Think up a name for your channel. Find a background that doesn't have piles of fly-blown garbage, and make a video. Make the BookTube newbie tag. And then make another video in a few days. Make another video. And then make one after that. When I made the BookTube newbie tag, I was reading this book. I just finished it. I have a lot of thoughts about it. Here's what they are. Simple as that. That's all. So try it and then keep trying it. The first few videos probably won't find an audience, but they will eventually do that. So that's my advice to you there. Which the third piece of advice is naturally falls from those, which is that if you do it for 1 month or 2 months, let's say you do get some viewers, some traction, that magic threshold of 1,000 subscribers. Once you've passed 1,000 subscribers, no matter who you are, no matter how many grades of children you've taught at school, once you pass 1,000 subscribers, you know that there are lots of strangers listening to you and coming back to listen to you. And that's a weird feeling. That's very strange, in a way, very vulnerable, but also wonderful. But if you go along for months and months, I'm not saying to 1,000 subscribers. Well, let's say you have 500 subscribers. That's more friends than you have in the real world. So you know there are strangers watching there as well. Let's say you do all that and it is a grind and you don't like it. Well, then you can stop. Don't feel obliged. Definitely don't feel obliged. Don't inflict on the rest of us videos that you feel you have to make. Okay? Because the single, say it with me now, I've said this many times before, the single most unattractive quality that anyone can have at all across the board is self-pity. So don't let it get to that. Don't let it curdle to self-pity. If you're starting to feel put upon, then stop making videos. But give it a try. That's what I'm saying. So that is the evolution of a booktuber tag. And all it's left to do is tag people. And I want to tag Randy Ray, who's been on the channel now long enough to have an evolution. I want to tag Joe Spivey, same thing. Joe Spivey, Randy Ray epitomized one aspect of this community. He came on, was immediately beloved by everybody who watched his channel, but had dire health problems and experienced people reaching out in the real world because of his channel. Not fake, not, hey, when are you going to post another video, not send me foot pictures or anything like that, but real people reaching out in real ways. Joe Spivey started a channel and experienced a different side of social media where he gained lots of popularity very quickly. And I also want to tag Micah Cummins, just because he's just returned to BookTube. I don't know if he's doing tags, but I would love to hear his thoughts on how BookTube has changed him and how he has changed BookTube. I'd love to hear. I'll do those three, but I'd love to hear this from anybody. This is a terrific reflexive tag. I've gone on a bit long about it, but you don't have to. But anyway, that is the evolution of a BookTuber tag. I'm going to wrap this up for this Tag Tuesday, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.